Ambassador Krethak trembled as he reviewed the latest diplomatic report from the Terran embassy. The small, furry creature from the peaceful world of Veltara had always considered himself fortunate to serve as liaison to what the galaxy euphemistically called the Deathworlders, those strange bipedal mammals from the impossibly hostile planet they called Earth. For 3 standard years, humanity had been the galaxy's favorite curiosity. Their planet was a nightmare of extreme weather, predatory fauna, toxic plant life, and geological instability that would kill most civilized species within hours. Yet somehow, these humans had not only survived but thrived, developing into a species that was both terrifyingly capable and inexplicably gentle. The galaxy had learned to appreciate their contradictory nature. Humans could survive in the vacuum of space for precious minutes, regenerate from wounds that would be fatal to others, and process toxins that served as recreational drugs to them, but deadly poisons to everyone else. Yet they spent their diplomatic meetings apologizing for breathing too loudly, asking if the room temperature was comfortable for everyone, and bringing gifts of something they called chocolate-chip cookies. Krethak had grown fond of their bizarre kindness. Captain Sarah Martinez, the human ambassador, would always inquire about his offspring's molting cycles and remember his dietary restrictions when ordering meals. The human security detail would help elderly diplomats with their luggage and once spent an entire afternoon rescuing a crystalline delegate's pet from a ventilation shaft. But today's report was different. Today, everything had changed. The incident began on Station Harmony 7, the galaxy's primary diplomatic hub, orbiting the neutral world of Centros Prime. A routine trade negotiation between the Hegemony Commerce Guild and the Terran Trade Federation had turned into something that would reshape interstellar relations forever. Trade Minister Vexlon of the Hegemony had been negotiating in his typical fashion, aggressive, dismissive, and designed to extract maximum advantage from what he perceived as naive Deathworlders. For months, he had been systematically cheating humanity in deals, selling them defective equipment, charging premium prices for standard goods, and mocking their primitive ethical concerns in private communications. The humans, as always, had responded with diplomatic patience. They renegotiated contracts, accepted losses with grace, and continued to honor agreements, even when the other party didn't. Captain Martinez had filed formal complaints through proper channels, requested mediation, and attempted to resolve disputes through conversation. The galaxy had come to expect this pattern. Humans were pushovers, they said. Deathworlders might be individually dangerous, but they were collectively harmless, too concerned with politeness and fairness to be a real threat. That assumption died the moment Captain Martinez walked into the negotiations chamber on Station Harmony 7's 15th level. Security Chief Breaktor, a hulking warrior from the militaristic Dominion clans, was the first to notice the change. He had known Martinez for 2 years, had shared meals with her, had even taught her some of his people's war chants. But the human who entered the chamber that morning was different. She walked differently, Breaktor would later tell investigators. Humans usually move carefully around us, making themselves seem smaller, less threatening. But that day, Captain Martinez moved like a predator who had stopped pretending to be prey. The physical changes were subtle, but unmistakable to those who knew humans well. Martinez's posture was straighter, her movements more precise. Her typically warm smile had been replaced by an expression that could only be described as surgically neutral. Most unsettling of all, she had stopped apologizing. "Good morning," Martinez said, taking her seat across from Trade Minister Vexlon. Her voice carried none of its usual diplomatic warmth. "Let's discuss the Hegemony's breach of contract in the Epsilon Sector Mining Rights Agreement." Vexlon, a slug-like creature with an inflated sense of his own importance, slithered in his mobile platform with amusement. "Breach? My dear primitive, you clearly don't understand the complexities of interstellar commerce. What you call a breach, we call standard practice. Standard practice, Martinez repeated, consulting her datapad. Like marking up medical supplies by 400% during the Altair plague outbreak. Like selling us 20-year-old terraforming equipment as latest generation technology. Like routing our humanitarian aid shipments through hostile space to increase delivery times. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the hegemony had been taking advantage of human naivety, but no one had expected the humans to document it so thoroughly.
Vexlon's skin flushed a deeper purple. Business is business, Deathworlder. If your species is too stupid to... He never finished the sentence. Martinez didn't move from her chair, didn't raise her voice, didn't even change her expression. She simply pressed a control on her datapad and said, "Computer, implement Protocol 7. The response was immediate and galaxy-wide. Every human trade ship in space simultaneously reversed course and began returning to Earth. Every human-operated medical station went dark. Every technological innovation that humanity had shared, their miraculous medical treatments, their impossibly efficient agricultural techniques, their breakthrough fusion technology, was suddenly restricted to human space. On 17 different worlds, human relief workers packed their supplies and departed without explanation. The Velterun refugee camps, the crystalline colony ship repairs, the emergency food shipments to drought-stricken Zorax, all of it stopped. Most shocking of all, the humans closed their embassies. Ambassador Krethak watched in horror as human diplomats throughout the galaxy received the same message. Return to Terra immediately. Indefinite suspension of all non-essential interspecies contact. What are you doing? Vexlon spluttered, his trade platform wobbling with agitation. You can't just... This is diplomatic suicide. Martinez finally looked up from her datapad, and Bractor would later swear that her eyes had gone completely cold. Trade Minister Vexlon, for 3 years, humanity has operated under the assumption that our galactic neighbors were acting in good faith. We have been patient, accommodating, and forgiving. We have absorbed financial losses, overlooked insults, and ignored exploitation because we believed in the possibility of genuine cooperation. She stood up, and everyone in the room instinctively moved back. Not because she had become physically threatening, but because something fundamental had shifted in how she carried herself. Today, that ends. Humanity withdraws from all non-essential galactic activities until further notice. We will honor our existing defense treaties because lives depend on them, but all trade agreements are suspended pending review. All aid programs are terminated immediately. All diplomatic missions are closed. You can't do this, Vexlon shrieked. Half the galaxy depends on your medical technology. The Rim colonies will starve without your agricultural assistance. Martinez gathered her materials with mechanical precision. The Rim colonies should have considered that before charging us triple rates for basic construction materials during their own prosperity. Perhaps they can negotiate fair prices with the Hegemony Commerce Guild instead. As she walked toward the exit, Martinez paused at the doorway. The galaxy has spent 3 years teaching humanity that kindness is weakness, that generosity is stupidity, and that good faith is something to be exploited. Consider this lesson learned. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Within hours, the reality of humanity's withdrawal hit the galaxy like a quantum shockwave. The Altair system, still recovering from the plague, discovered that their medical infrastructure was 70% dependent on human-designed treatment protocols. The expanding colonies found that their food production relied heavily on human agricultural innovations. Defense contractors realized that their most effective weapons incorporated human metallurgy techniques. Most critically, dozens of species discovered that humans had become the galaxy's informal peacekeepers, mediating disputes, providing neutral ground for negotiations, and offering humanitarian aid that prevented countless small conflicts from escalating into wars. On Station Harmony 7, Ambassador Krethak sat in his empty office, staring at the formal notification that had arrived just hours after Martinez's departure. The Terran Federation regrets to inform the galactic community that humanity is implementing indefinite isolation protocols. This decision is not taken lightly, but recent events have demonstrated that our species' approach to interstellar relations is fundamentally incompatible with current galactic practices. We wish all species prosperity and peace in their future endeavors. The message was signed with perfect diplomatic courtesy, but Krethak could read between the lines. Humanity wasn't angry. Anger could be negotiated with, appeased, or waited out. Instead, they had become something far more dangerous. Disappointed. As reports flooded in from across the galaxy, trade routes disrupted, medical crises deepening, aid-dependent worlds facing famine, Krethak realized that the galaxy had made a catastrophic miscalculation. They had assumed that humans were kind because they were weak. Instead, humans were kind because they were strong enough to choose kindness. And now they had chosen something else. The small ambassador from Velterra began composing his resignation letter. He had spent his career facilitating communication between species, but how do you negotiate with someone who has decided they no longer want to talk? Outside his window, the last human transport ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind a galaxy that was only now beginning to understand what it had lost. The age of human kindness was over. The age of consequences had begun.